If you're hurt, injured, don't waste time. Gary Johnson cries for every dime.
Welcome to Simply the Law, a program created by attorney Gary C. Johnson. Simply the Law provides free legal advice and encourages happiness and quality of life. Now, here's Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson.
Hello, everyone. Welcome into Simply the Law. I'm Keith Casebolt, my dear friend, Gary C. Johnson.
Hi, folks. Another week, right? Ooh, I suspect there may have been a little controversy around the household.
All right, I got to tell you something real quick. I got a call this week from a friend of ours in the community here who said, I sat down on the couch, I watched the show, I thanked my wife for making the dinner, and he said, please tell Gary that the evening was fantastic. So, congratulations.
See how easy it is? Huh? The thing about this life is we are so lucky to have other people in it. We're so lucky to have our family. And those of you that don't have that may be watching, my heart goes out to you. And if you have your family, cherish them. They're a pain in the rear too, aren't they? Still cherish them. It's okay. Because most of the problems we have in life comes from our family. All of the joy we have in our life comes from our family. So it balances. Right? You wouldn't take anything for your family, even though you want to kill them sometimes. Right? Isn't it wonderful just being a human being? Think about it. All the frailties that come with being human and all the problems that come with being human. Sometimes I think the good Lord just stands up there and just chuckles as he watches us. It's got to be so much fun. Guess what? You can do the same thing. Start watching people. Start looking around. You will be amazing what the reality TV is like in the real world. And watching people. Because we're constantly messing up. We're constantly making mistakes. We're constantly doing stupid stuff. That makes us human. And that's what makes it so interesting. If everybody did exactly everything perfect all the time, it would be so boring, wouldn't it?
You know, I'm glad you mentioned that because right now probably the top programs on television are all reality TV. And you said the other day on radio, nothing new to me. I've been watching reality TV for the last 50 years and enjoying it. It's been a ball.
Yeah, it's not TV. It's real life, watching what's going on around you. And don't be too hard on yourself. When I say that, I mean it. Because if we do what we think we ought to do at the time, or we wouldn't do it. Right? How many of you said, okay, today I'm going to go out and I'm planning on doing something really stupid? You don't do that. Now, that doesn't mean you didn't do something stupid.
So most of the time it's just the opposite. We get up and say, today I'm going to go out and really do something smart, only to find out it turned out to be stupid.
Pretty stupid.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But that's human. And there's nothing wrong with being a human being. It's amazing how wonderful it is to be able to be a human being. And you'll make mistakes and you'll do stuff and it'll go on and you'll get yourself in trouble. You'll get yourself in trouble even when you don't know you're getting yourself in trouble. Because I call that the imagine slides that the people around you are going to think you did. And those are usually more of those than they are the real ones that you did, even though there may be a few real ones you did. But it's just, life is so interesting. And if you want to be happy, accept life. Accept people for the fact that they have frailties and that they're human. Don't expect more of someone than you expect of yourself. And guess what? It's a pretty low standard when you do that. You're not going to expect a lot of yourself. Now you say, oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Oh, no, you don't, deep down.
One of the there's so many lessons that Gary has taught me, but one of the lessons where he and I were traveling together, and I was kind of complaining about something my kid had done, and quickly Gary answered back, Keith, the day he does something that you haven't done, you need to jump all over him. And I said, good heavens, he'll never do anything that I haven't done. The kid's a saint. He's smart, he's good. And Gary said, then stop complaining. And you pointed it out to me and you were so right.
Now, those of you that are watching, every single one of you that's not done something stupid, hold up your hand. Raise your hand. Every one of you that's not made a mistake, raise your hand.
You want to bet somebody said, put that hand down. I guarantee you somebody just said that.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's the point I'm trying to make. Life goes on. You're still alive. You're still carrying it on. Surely, you may have made a mistake. We all make mistakes. This lawyer, I was talking to him when I was at a seminar that I was teaching at, and he wanted to talk to me otherwise. And he thought he was just a great lawyer. And he is. He's pretty well recognized. And he was talking about a case, and he was making excuses about why he lost the case. I looked at him. I said, you walk in that courtroom and you try enough cases, you will lose one. Suck it up. That's just the way it is. And he looked at me and said, huh? I said, yes. And it's no, don't start making excuses. It's what it is. You will lose a case every now and then because the facts are not something that the jury will accept. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. If the jury ultimately decides the facts in a case, not the lawyer. And if the jury agrees that the person didn't break a safety rule or that the person shouldn't recover, then that's the end of it. That's the way it should be. That's the end result.
And Gary, even to the point, I've often heard you put the pressure on yourself of saying, it's my job to make sure those facts are delivered to where they can understand them, to where they can see them. You're constantly putting the pressure on yourself to make sure that you get those facts out to the jury.
But there's sometimes, Keith, even no matter what you do, any lawyer that says, I've never been in a situation where the jury rejected my client, they're lying. Because the jury may despise the client so bad that it doesn't matter what you do. There's reasons. And generally, and I've said this always, the jury does the right thing. There's something magic about those 12 people. And you look at their reasoning, and when it's over with, you say, oh my goodness. But you look at the end result, and it's what it ought to be. I don't know how I got off on that tangent there, but I did. But anyhow, you live life as a human being. You can't live it as anything else. So don't put burdens on yourself that you don't need to be putting on yourself. Because you will never, I hate to say this, you will never be more than a human being. We are what we are. And human beings come with frailties, and human beings make mistakes. Overall, human beings are wonderful, they're noble, and they do great things. But don't ever let yourself get drugged down by the fact you may have made a mistake in life. Because it happens, because we're human. Let's take a break, and we're going to come right back.
You know, anytime over the years I've shared with Gary that I've made a mistake and I'm really worried about it, he always gives me the same answer. Are they going to cut you up, put you in a pot, boil you and eat you? And I say no, and that's his way of telling me, suck it up and move on. And he's right. Stay with us. We've got a good program for you tonight. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson right after this.
You notice on the legal advertisement of lawyers that they've made verdicts an issue? Well, guess what? This old boy from Eastern Kentucky's got the largest verdict in the state of Kentucky, and nobody's even come close to it. Over my career, I've got my clients' verdicts of over $315 million. Yep, I'm glad they made verdicts an issue. Check my record and I'll bet you decide it might be wise to give old Gary a call.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. A wonderful opening segment in this, and the way you put things into perspective, it's amazing how the mind can switch where you're tormented and you've made this mistake and you're never going to be able to go on. And then when you put it in the terms you put it, you kind of smile and say, okay, I messed up. Don't do it again.
Move on. You're
Move
human.
on.
Let's go to the computer. I want to talk to you folks about some stuff. There's our Lexington office and our Lexington number. If any of you are down there, come by and visit us if nothing else. We're right off of Winchester Road on Executive Drive, which Sir Barton turns into Executive Drive. We're the fourth building on the left out through there, real close to the interstate. Come and visit us. We've got 4 different lawyers there. I think you'd enjoy it. Just
Beautiful
come and hang
place.
out with us. Here's our number in Eastern Kentucky in this area, and really anywhere in the state, I guess you could call that number. Don't forget pound HURT on your cell phone. Just pound HURT. And there's our website, GaryCJohnson.com. In general, please, my friends, make sure you have underinsurance that protects you and your family. Arbitration, if you can keep from it, never sign a document agreeing that any dispute will be settled by arbitration. You have given up your right when you do that to be able to go in front of a jury of 12 people that will decide your case. And it is a big mistake. And there's all kinds of things I could go into on that again. In fact, I may do one on arbitration again before long, because I'd say most of my friends may have forgot the one we did a few years ago. Okay, now let's go back. Last week, I talked to you in terms of a lawsuit is against an insurance company, basically, even though the defendant is the person that actually broke the safety rule. And if no insurance, no lawsuits. I talked to you quite a bit about why insurance companies and its business don't settle and force people to file lawsuits, because it's good business to do that. Now, they forced a person to file a lawsuit. They forced that person to hire a lawyer like myself that does that makes the report to the authorities, which is the jury. Now, what happens in the lawsuit? Well, here's something else that they've learned, the insurance industry, through the attorneys that they hire to represent them. Number one is, can they attack the credibility of the person that was harmed? In other words, you go in preloaded in any trial that the plaintiff's lawyer is greedy, that makes the report on behalf of the person. And number two, that there's all kinds of people trying to get something for nothing, filing frivolous lawsuits, right? So how do you prevent this person from recovering for their injuries in front of a jury? Do you go in there and say, yep, we hurt them? Here's their doctors, what they say. They should be compensated. Do you think they ever do that? Ever?
So Gary, for our friends watching, we probably didn't get too upset last week when you were talking about all the propaganda against attorneys and what they were saying and doing against the attorneys. But now, if I read you right, you're telling me that was plan A from the insurance company, was to try to get you not to hire an attorney. But now that plan A hasn't worked, here comes plan B. And plan B is not going to be the attack against the attorney. You used me as an example. Now plan B is going to be an attack against Keith.
Right. And there are certain avenues they use to attack the person's credibility. One is they may have had a medical problem a few years ago where they may have said, okay, I have a back problem. No problems for years or whatever. Then they go take Keith's deposition and they say, Keith, have you had any back problems before this wreck? And Keith very honestly looks at him and says, no, I haven't. But yet they've got this medical record that says Keith went in and told the doctor he was having back pain a few years ago.
25 years ago.
Or 10 years or 5 even.
Yeah.
That Keith has no memory of. None. Because at the time of the wreck, he wasn't having any back problems. And then they say, are you sure you've never had any back problems? And Keith says, no, I didn't have any back problems. I do now, after I got run over, but no, I did not have any back problems. Now they've attacked Keith's credibility. They've got a medical record that shows 5 or 6 years ago where Keith had complained of some back pain, and they've got Keith saying, I didn't have any back problems. Ooh.
In a nutshell, now I'm a liar.
Now Keith's a liar. Innocent as a babe, but he's now looks like a liar. Or better yet, they ask Keith what he's doing, what he can do. And Keith says, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't do this now like I used to. Well, they send somebody out and they waylay him with a camera on surveillance, and for 1 or 2 minutes, they see Keith doing something because he's feeling good that day and he's taking his medicine and he really don't want to give up. They see him doing something that Keith is saying, I have problems doing now. Now they've got this little snippet of a surveillance that they can show a jury to say, look, he said he couldn't do these things without being in pain. And here we got this 2 minutes of him doing it on video. Now, the fact Keith had a broke back, a fused back from the wreck, and all of those things start fading into the background because, number one, they've asked Keith about an old record that he didn't remember. And number two, they've got him under surveillance where he was able to actually do something for a little bit. When in reality, when you look at his MRIs, his back is crooked now. It's got things inside it. All of that gets lost because they've attacked Keith's credibility.
Now, Gary, what I find amazing about this whole segment that you're talking about, no one's talking about what actually happened. The fact that this vehicle ran over my vehicle and injured me. This is not the discussion.
That's not the discussion. Let's take a break and we'll come right back on and talk some more about this.
I thought you would find this part amazing because when Gary first revealed this to me on the radio, as he was talking about the attack on the attorney, I was like, okay, and then here came the attack on the actual injured person. What an approach. Stay with us. More information from Gary C. Johnson right here on Simply the Law.
I'm attorney Gary C. Johnson. I hate these commercials as bad as you do. I have no choice if I want to let you know that I'm in the business of practicing law, representing injured people, except to do this commercial. I don't fish, I don't golf, I get money for injured people. Check my record, go to GaryCJohnson.com, and I'll bet you if you've been hurt, you might want to give me a call.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. Gary, the information you just shared with us in the last segment, is this the biggest surprise to the client when they become the target that the company goes after to discredit?
You have to understand, the client is in mortal fear because they've lost everything. They can't work. Major medical bills. Got a client like that in this situation. They're panicking. Literally panic attacks. And this client is under direct attack on things just exactly like we're talking about with Keith by the insurance industry right now in the lawsuit. Now, let me give you another example of what happens. electronic medical records. If any of you have had any experience with these new electronic medical records that come along with Obamacare or whatever, they are a nightmare for people that's been hurt because they are never right. Never. They don't write down what the people say, they check boxes. And depending on who's checking the boxes or not checking the boxes, depends on how that medical record is going to turn out. In other words, you go to a pain doctor for your back that's treating you for the pain in your back and trying to help you have less pain and give you some medications and physical therapy and things of that nature to try to help you with the pain, okay? They check the boxes that have to do with pain. That they don't check any of the other boxes. Well, the computer program by default answers those questions. Got a situation right now where a fellow has got bladder and sexual problems because of the wreck, because of a major broken back. But when you get his pain management records, it says his sexual function's fine and his bladder is fine, based upon the boxes not being checked because that's not what he was there for. So now the defense is using the fact he told the pain management doctor these things were fine, when at the same time, parallel to that, he's treating with the urologist over here for all kinds of problems.
And you're sitting here going, this is common sense. Why would you be at a urologist if you were not having bladder problems?
Well, and why would you be? But yet the records, those electronic records, that computer software, goes to the default and prints it out. And then the poor client has to deal with it. And juries don't understand how horrible this new medical record keeping business is. And it may work. And that's the thing that just terrifies me anymore about what's happening when they do these attacks on these clients. It's working.
Because now again, this is saying you're a liar, you're trying to get something for nothing.
Right. And it's planting those seeds that feeds into the preconceived concept that everybody has about people that file lawsuits from the propaganda over the years. I mean, this guy has got like a 7 vertebra fused in his back. He's about off. But yet the focus is away from that, from what the defense is doing, and they're getting it on these little old nitpicking things that have nothing to do with how bad he got hurt. And it may work. You know, you never know. It's frightening to me, the schemes and the systems that the insurance companies use through their defense attorneys and through themselves to keep people from recovering the policy of the insurance.
Now, not only are they doing all the things you just brought out, but now time is a factor. They're dragging this out, and this individual who is injured and having all these problems is having to sit and wait, and the anxiety is killing them.
Let's take a break. We'll come right back on and talk about that a little bit.
We're going to end up the program with some valuable information, so don't go away. Stay with us. Simply the Law with Gary C. Johnson right after this.
Insurance companies will test lawyers to see if they know what they're doing. Luckily, they tested me. And because of that, over the years, I've been able to get verdicts for my clients in excess of $315 million in the state of Kentucky, most of which are just in eastern Kentucky. We proved we know what we're doing. We proved we can go in front of a jury. And guess what? Most of my cases settle now. Wonder why? Give us a call.
Welcome back into Simply the Law. Going out of that break, Gary, we were talking about time being a factor and how the insurance company uses that against the client.
Well, think about it. A person's hurt, disabled, medical bills, family to feed, no money. What do you think the insurance company statistics show on that? In other words, this guy's got a case that's probably, if it was put in front of a jury immediately and they saw the extent of it and all these things weren't done, probably worth millions of dollars. Right? Because of all the damages. But you delay it. They delay it, and they delay it, and they delay it. And eventually, the guy is basically homeless. His wife probably left him because of all the other things. What does he do? He does what normal human beings do. He caves. And when it comes up to the mediation and they offer him a fraction of what his case should be worth had it been done timely, and he takes it. And they've saved a lot of money.
Because he just wants it to be over with.
He can't go on any further. He can't, it's over. Now, the psychological distress of a person in a lawsuit is horrible. Good, decent people despise being in a lawsuit. It takes an unbelievable emotional toll on them. If any of you have ever been in a lawsuit, you know what I'm talking about. People don't go around filing lawsuits for the sake of filing lawsuits. The people that file lawsuits, in my experience with my clients, are people that had no choice. The insurance company would not accept responsibility and pay the claim that they were technically legally obligated to pay.
So, Gary, they've got stats that say if we drag this out to 6 months, 20% of the people will cave in. If we drag it out to a year, 50%. If we go 2 years, 70% of the people. They've got a model that says if we do this, we'll save that much.
And then they got another one. It's sort of like I tell you, the chatterbox can't lose. Well, they can't lose either, because if the person hangs on and they tough it out, and they get in front of a jury, and a jury puts down the amount of damages that they should have been put down a few years ago, they put it in the paper. Look at these runaway juries.
So
look at what these juries are doing.
That may be another whole show. Here's the attack that comes to the jury, right?
Yeah.
So
then they attack the jury system.
You've done the attorney, you've done the client, and now if they don't get their way, they attack the jury system. Oh, and here comes tort reform. My goodness. Gary, thank you so much. I really hope you've enjoyed this program, actually the two programs, because Gary pointed out the system and how it works of attacking the attorney, then attacking the client, and ultimately attacking the jury system. Valuable information. Thank you so much for taking this time to tune in. It really is a big honor for Gary and I both. On behalf of Gary C. Johnson, I'm Keith Casewell. We look forward to seeing you again next week, right here at this same time.
Thank you for watching Simply the Law, a program created by Gary C. Johnson. Until next week, may you be safe, blessed, and happy.